Player at another table calls me out and says that he's after my dollars. His name is Chris. I want to give him an opportunity to get some. I head over to his table where I'm dealt ace-5 suited in middle position. Under the gun +1 opens a 20. I've got a hand that's playable. I call. Chris calls on the button. As he's doing so, he says out loud to the rest of the table that he's hoping to suck out on me and get some Bradley dollars this hand. The small blind, who had just gotten beat for a large pot in the previous hand, definitely heard the button say that, then 3-bets to 75. This could be a super light 3-bet, especially since the small blind seems like he's tilting a little. Under the gun +1 calls. The 3-bet was tiny. I'm getting a great price. I call for 55 more. The button calls as well. We're going 4 ways to the flop. It's queen 10-5, all hearts. Not especially great. We all check. The turn is the 9 of spades. It doesn't appear that anyone's all that happy about it. We all check again. The river is the ace of spades. We've got top and bottom pair. The small blind's gonna rep a monster. He bets 250. Under the gun +1 folds. The small blind story doesn't make a ton of sense. He probably would have bet ace queen or better on the flop or turn, so he's mostly just repping ace king at this point. I can beat that. I make the call hoping that I'm not somehow up against ace 10 or a flush. The button folds. It turns out the initial read that we had on the situation was likely correct. The small blind is 100% a confirmed bluffer.
You're good. All right.
The player doesn't even want to turn his cards over to show what he 3-bet pre-flop with, then tried to steal the pot with on the river. I show the table in my hand, mostly so the opponent knows for sure that I'm the rightful owner of the pot. In other news, Chris wasn't able to get me this hand. That doesn't stop him from trying in the future. Here I've got queen 4 in the big blind, 4 players limp in. I check, the flop comes 4-4 deuce with 2 spades. We've got trips. I check, under the gun checks, the middle position player checks, the hijack bets 10. The cutoff calls. If I raise right now, I'm likely not going to make any extra money, although we've seen me get wrecked recently by slow playing and people hitting backdoor boats. That's not been fun. I can't let those hands bother me. I call, figuring that I'll be up against some spade draws. I'll play cautiously if another spade comes out. Under the gun folds, the middle position player calls. 4 of us are still in, and the turn is another deuce. We make a boat that isn't all that hidden. I check, figuring that everyone will probably check behind me. The middle position player checks, the hijack checks, the cutoff surprises me and bets 50. I don't know if he'll be able to call a raise with anything worse. I go for it anyway. I raise to 150. The middle position player folds, the hijack gets out of there. The cutoff is like the last guest who's still at your house when you throw a party and everyone else left hours ago. He just doesn't want to leave. The cutoff calls. He has 325 in his stack. I imagine that he has a 4 as well. Let's drill a queen one time. Instead, the river is an ace. Not great because I could definitely be up against ace 4 hearts. I could also be up against quad deuces, which would be pretty gross. If he has me beat, it's a cooler. I slide in enough greens to cover him. There's no snap call, so worst case scenario is that I'm chopping with him. He eventually puts in calling chips. You know games are good in Texas because somehow there are like 5 people who are all shocked that I have a 4.
You actually have it? You do have it. You do have the 4. Good.
You can see in the top right that the opponent made the call with 7 deuce of diamonds. He's a really nice guy who I enjoyed talking to about my old life as an accountant. With his chips, I'm hopeful that I'll never have to go back to an accounting job again. I'm up 1,700.